Upstairs, aren't you? Was your father involved with the
That has to be white too.
As I said before, normally when you go to the toilet it goes down. When you go to the toilet it goes up. So, you know, a lot of people who are frightened. I've even had Doris Ledbetter, our own local legend, write a story how we came down with a group of internationals, just a small group, to see what their reaction was like, because we're having trouble getting people to come down the mine. And Jill will tell you we've worked very, very hard to get schools and groups and all sorts of people down. So Doris came along and she wrote a very light-hearted story and thoroughly enjoyed her day. She's a lovely person to work with. And she finished up by saying that she was so confident that she would do the same on any table with those girls at any given time. Yeah. So that was part of that exercise. But to do the Cornish pasty thing, we've had a series of people. We had Brian Bury going back a long way, and we decided what could we do. So we tried to source out the actual story. The true Cornish pasty is made overseas in Cornwall, where they're really tin miners. It's whatever was left on the table. They were so poor that you didn't waste anything. They're not like perhaps our younger generation now where you don't even just throw it out. They kept it. And Mum made up some pastry and she put carrots. And then if they were a bit short at the other end, they put a little bridge in and they put apple or jam or whatever at the other end. So you really had a meal. We actually make those particular style Cornish pasties for special events. And we had Good Morning Australia here last, or before I go, and we made that special pasty for that day. I didn't do it tonight because I thought it might turn you off. You might saw something out. But we had a young fellow over from Cornwall probably 18 months ago. There was a shearer and he's got his own team. And they still eat the traditional Cornish there, but why was the rim on the Cornish pasty? And also in Cornwall, they turn it round, the rim's on the edge, because of the tin and the minerals and that, they just hold the end, and they eat the centre out of the pasty and they throw the rest away. And even till today, where people go out on the farm to shear or whatever, they still observe that. Later on you might care to have a look, and one of the gentlemen we were talking to before mentioned about having scones and clotted chrome. These are some photos that we've got blown up, a little bit about Cornwall and the little Cornishman with his pasty. It's intriguing to see how narrow the roads are. You can see a car there and he barely gets up that road. Another intriguing thing is when we talk about scones and chrome, we've now got Rodders, Cornish, clotted chrome. Now, has anybody registered Rodders used to be a well-known place over in Bendigo? Yeah. That's quite synonymous. That's right. Believe it or not, the Polly Bill, as we know him, has got shares in our company. He never misses an annual meeting. He never misses getting up and giving us a bit of good advice or whatever, I might call it, which we appreciate very much. And Bill, even though he got his own company, but that's a few things you might look at. Recently, Les Gillies himself was in Cornwall, and nobody goes to Cornwall that escapes, as far as I'm concerned, to see what history they can get. As you'll see on your sheets we've given you there, the story of the Cornish pasty. My own brother's been over there and contributed. Who is one of the hierarchy of the Cornish Association has contributed. You may have heard of the Cornish Festival in Cabina in South Australia. Dean Price, who runs well, he's almost Mr. Cadena, and he's contributed to us, but they go really wild every second year over there, and they make Cornish pasties. It's big. Politicians make them, and then they bake them off in this enormous oven on the back of a semi-trailer, and Dean Price, who was Mr. Cadena, he judges the Cornish pasty. So that's a little bit of the story of our Cornish pasty. It's been marketed in Bendigo for probably 3 or 4 years now, and continues to grow, and Brian over here is one of our faithful supporters, and even the old people on Meals on Wheels, we've made a special Cornish pasty for the Ann Caudle Centre that will fit in that container so that the old people can share in the good old tucker they've known for years gone by. So that gives you some idea of where we've taken it. We won't drag on too long. We'll let Jill have her little say, and then we'll test how good your brains have been. And there's a few goodies here that we'll dispatch to. Right, Jill, what do you think?
Coming into the mine, like Gary said, some scared of the thought of it, but mostly enjoy it when they get here. The Central Deborah mine opened in 1939 and it closed in 1954, so it was a fairly late mine for Bendigo because mining started here in 1851. Our most claim to fame is that we were the last one to close here, and there wasn't a lot of gold taken out here. There was about 3/4 of a tonne, and around about 60,000 tonne of ore came out. So you can see by the tour you've done that there's a lot of work involved for the miners here. The deepest mine in Bendigo went about 1.5 kilometres, or a bit deeper than that maybe, and of course we're a lot richer. Victoria Hill Landsworth mines were a lot richer than here.